Today I'm going to quickly show you how I set up my FeiyuTech WG2X for mountain biking. First of all, you want to get the gimbal in a good place. The best place I've found is by using a chest mount. I've tried it on a helmet cam and handlebars, but to get the best feeling of riding in your footage, go and get a chest mount. I'll put a link in the description to the one that I have below. Now this is the one that I have. It's a GoPro copy that I got from Amazon, but it works really well. Now, as these chest mounts are basically made for a GoPro or just an action camera alone, when you put a gimbal on it as well, it tends to bounce around a little more than usual. So to combat this, I have a camel backpack and I do it up over this chest piece here, and this holds the chest piece down. And that stops this plastic plate from moving around too much. Because of that extra weight of the gimbal, this wants to bounce forward. But this strap holds it in place, and this works really well, and it really stabilizes the whole of the chest mount. To mount the gimbal to the chest mount, what you need is one of these small shoe plates that normally comes with the GoPro, but then you also need one of these. It's got a 1/4 inch thread that goes into the bottom of the gimbal. So I've got a link for this piece down below. In having this piece like that, your chest will sit here, and this motor is nowhere near your chest, so you can lean forwards and backwards, doesn't really matter. And that sits in place there. Then when I turn it on, it sits there nicely. Next, for the settings, I'll have it in pan mode only, not follow mode. In follow mode, you'll just get shots of the ground and your handlebars, and you'll basically have less usable footage. And we all know there's nothing worse than getting home and having your action footage of just your handlebars or just your feet. So in the pan mode, I'll turn the gimbal on, and then when stationary, I'll aim the gimbal down a little bit so I can just about still see the horizon in the top third of the frame. This means the horizon will always be in the shot, and you'll still see the handlebars on anything but the really steep parts of the course. So I'll get my gimbal, turn it down, and I'll look for the horizon on the back. When it's in that top third of the frame, I'll let it go. Because that's a really good thing with these gimbals. When you're stationary, if you move it and hold it, it locks it into that place. And when you're in the pan only mode and not the follow mode, wherever I lean, that gimbal will always keep that horizon. So like I said, I'll turn it down a little bit and then it's set. For me, this works really well. And in using the horizon every time as a reference point, you'll always face it at the right angle. Now, if you use, say, an older GoPro that doesn't have the screen on the back, the best thing to do is connect it up to your app. And before you start riding, you'll get the app out and you'll have a look to see where the horizon is on that. You'll turn the gimbal down, get it into place, and then just turn your phone off, put it in your pocket and press record and start riding. For the settings in the gimbal, it's pretty close to where it needs to be already. You just need to smooth out the panning a little bit. To do this, I go into the motor strength and change the panning to about 2/3 or 3/4 of that sliding scale. I got some great results with these settings, but I'm not the fastest rider. If you're an expert level, or you may be doing like double black diamonds and really big jumps, you may need to ramp this right up to the full position. If you don't like this setting, you need to play around with this panning setting until you get it to where you want it. The best bet is to film a run and then watch it on the way back up. Then adjust your settings to suit. With the capture mode, you need to make sure you're in the action mode. The smooth mode is great for filming non-action shots, but for fast gimbal movements, action mode is the way to go. As for the GoPro, I have it in super view to get as wide a frame as possible. In my Hero 5, I have to have the resolution at 2.7K, but if you have a newer GoPro, you should be able to shoot at a higher resolution. Then I have my color on GoPro, my white balance to 4800K, my ISO to 400, the shutter on auto, and then the exposure value compensation to -1 and sharpness on low. One of the reasons by having the EV comp to -1 is that if you're riding in and out of wooded areas, it controls the highlights a little bit better than when it's on 0. This gives me great footage and I don't really need to color grade it too much. If I want, I can just add a little bit of sharpness to it afterwards. It's always easier to add sharpness than to take it away. And that's about it. I've used and abused this gimbal and it really has stood up to that abuse. I tend to chuck it in my bag and not worry about it too much. The only thing is this protruding button on the side, but it does have that auto cutoff if ever it's inadvertently pressed when it's in your bag. If you hear it beeping when it is in your bag, just open up your bag, move it around and make sure nothing is pressing on that button. But all in all, it's a great little gimbal and it'll give you much better, more stable footage. Now, do you use a gimbal when mountain biking or do you just use an action camera? I've found that the gimbal really does give me much more usable and stable footage when I'm riding. And even though I occasionally knock it or I fall on it, it still seems to keep on going. And also, if you think you might buy one, FeiyuTech sent through a discount code I can pass on to you guys, so check it out in the description below. As always, if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. And for weekly tutorials, hints and tips in photography and videography, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll see you next time.